And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to A Bookish Moment. I'm Sarah Burr.
And I am JC Kenney, and I am in, if you can't tell from the shirt, total party mode because I get to hang out with super friends and super amazing people, Sarah, and our very special guest today, Nan. And we also have a voice from beyond who's also kind of hanging with us, Liz. Sarah, I think it's time to get bookish.
Yes, today, as you said, is a very special celebration because we are here to celebrate you, JC. Congratulations on your brand new book, Panic in the Panhandle. I can't wait to talk about this book because I've been waiting to talk about this book for forever. I was lucky enough to read it way back when you were getting ready to query. And so to be here in this moment with you is really special. And I'm super thrilled that Nan Reinhardt is here with us as well to share in this fabulous moment. We've got folks popping up in the chat wishing congratulations. We've got Claudia, Mizan, Regina. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us this afternoon.
Thanks, folks.
Let's get bookish. Nan, Thank you for being here. And maybe to kind of explain why you are here. Not only are you a dear friend of ours here at It's Bookish Time TV, but you also copy edited Panic in the Panhandle. So you're going to be able to provide us with some really cool insights on the editing process. But before we get there, JC, tell us what inspired you to write a book about an animal removal specialist who comes across a body and an alligator all in the same scene.
So it all goes back to the dreaded COVID lockdown, actually. My wife, Nancy, and I, we were on vacation in Panama City Beach, Florida, in the last week of February of 2020. And this was when things hadn't gotten locked down yet, but things were, if you turned on the news, pretty scary. So I was just kind of in a bit of a mood, and I just kind of got this idea that kind of sitting out on the balcony there at the resort that, it would be fun to, write a story where basically I almost had no rules. That nothing was going to be too absurd, and I was just going to have absolutely as much fun being as outrageous as I could, because I was not in a happy place. I don't think really anybody was in a happy place at that point. So that's kind of where the idea came from, and I just decided to go with it. And so that's part of the reason the main character's name is Elmo, because again, that it was an idea of, okay, I've got this idea for a main character. Now I've got to come up with a name for him. And I don't know how, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it, but I just thought, okay, Elmo from Sesame Street, and it just stuck. So, that's just an example of some of the idea of, how there was nothing that wasn't going to be too over the top for this story. And so that goes to the whole wild animal removal specialist idea, was that, Sarah, as you know, and Nan, too, when you're working on a new idea, you want to come up with your characters doing unique things.
You do. And you nailed it, baby. It was so your beginning, and I don't really want to give away any secrets about the book, but your opening was just a total grabber, because when he walks into that apartment and finds what he finds there, when I was editing it, the first thing I do is read through, and I was like, I am so with you. And I was so excited to read it because it was you. But then when I saw the beginning, I was like, oh, this is going to be fabulous. And it was.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And so, and the fun story behind the whole wild animal removal specialist is I was trying to come up with an idea. Okay, what's this guy going to do? Yes, he's going to be my amateur sleuth, but he's got to have a day job. Even though technically Elmo, and I'm not going to spoil anything, he doesn't necessarily have to have a day job, but he does. So a number of years ago, here at the house, we started getting some kind of nasty smells coming from the chimney. We couldn't figure out what was going on, and then we heard what we thought were some scratchings coming from the chimney. So we called an animal removal specialist. At first we thought just to see, okay, did maybe some birds get caught in there or something like that? So long story short, he shows up, does his work, and it turned out it was a mama raccoon and 3 baby raccoons were caught in our chimney. So he literally told, I wasn't home at the time, but he told my wife and the kids were at home. He told them to go outside, keep an eye on the chimney, and he had a big pole and he just kind of stuffed it up the chimney. Mom and the babies came right out. He captured them all and took them someplace safe. And so we've always had the great chimney raccoon experience. And I thought, obviously that stuck with me. And I thought, that's kind of the kind of career that is kind of one of those things you don't think about, but is important. It's kind of, good folks, because, they're fixing your problem, but they're taking care of the animals. So that's what I did.
We needed an Elmo in our lives. We had a mother and her baby ducks stuck in our pool for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Called like everybody in the county, but it was like, no, I do squirrel removal. I do possum removal. It's like, who's the duck person?
Yeah.
But Elmo he does it all. And the thing that's so cool about not only the way that you approach this, JC, because of the fact that you went into it with there are no rules, and I think that is such a fun way to approach a project. Yes. That's how and I don't know if it was like the COVID mindset, like that's what I did when I went and wrote the first Glenn Meyer Wynn mystery. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to write something that I want to write. Yeah. And there's a lot of things in Panic in the Panhandle that, it does embody that cozy warmth of a community with all of these fun, quirky characters. But there are just so many fresh new things that you've introduced into the genre that makes it really fun. We don't have a male protagenist every day in a cozy mystery. And it was really nice to see Elmo take that role and kind of just share a different side of who a main character could be. And it was nice to see he's just a really good guy. And it was really fun to be in his world. If you can maybe tell us a little bit about the town of Paradise Springs and maybe how that came to be, how you wanted to root Elmo there, and maybe some of the interesting characters that we meet along the way.
So again, this all goes back to vacationing in the Florida Panhandle. Being from Indianapolis, we can get down there to the Pensacola, Destin, Panama City area in a 12-hour drive. So, it's easy to get to. And so when I came up with this idea, I thought, no, I've got to set it here on the Florida Gulf Coast. And I came up with the idea of Paradise Springs because in my stories, I like to use a made-up town. That way I can kind of do whatever I want. I tell people, if anybody asks, that, well, if you want to get to Paradise Springs, you go down to Panama City Beach, you take a right, and if you get to Pensacola, you've gone too far. Beyond that, that's about as close as I'm willing to get. So, you take that with then, we've all heard the stories of, Florida man, Florida woman, and how everything is just outrageous and crazy in that state. And, God love them. I do want to send everybody down in Florida and in Georgia and the Carolinas and Virginia, all of our love from the hurricane. And I hope everybody is going to, recover as quickly as possible there. But, there is a lot of craziness from Florida. And I've also been greatly influenced in my writing by both Elmore Leonard and Carl Hyacin. And so I kind of took them. Anybody who's watched this show knows I'm a huge parrot head. So anything to do with Jimmy Buffett, I kind of threw those elements into this town and thought, again, no rules. So that's why, with Panic in the Panhandle, I have even though this is a small fictional town, there is a world famous chef that runs a 5-star restaurant that is so scary. She made what's the guy from
Gordon Ramsay?
Yeah, made Gordon Ramsay cry. She's that fearsome. There's another character that may or may not be a vampire. No one really knows for sure. There is Elmo's kind of on again, off again girlfriend, Nick, and she is a tourboat captain. And so there are just all these different kind of characters. There's a junk dealer that I still haven't quite figured out. Junk dealer that goes by the name Big Baby, not Mr. Big Baby, nor Ms. Big Baby, just Big Baby. And, I don't even quite know what Big Baby's story is yet. And I'm working on the 3rd book, but we're going to eventually get there. So there's also Elmo's favorite hangout, which is the Riptide Barbecue Shack. And that is I got the idea for that from in Panama City Beach. There's a barbecue joint I've been to a couple of times called Moe's Original Barbecue. So, and it's this little, cinder block place with an outdoor bar right next to it. So I kind of stole all these elements to turn it into the Riptide, and that is owned by Elmo's best friend and longest friend since he's been in Panama City, Wendell Banderas. And it is also then the bar outside is run by Wendell's daughter, Seven Banderas, and she is she's her own person as well. Again, with no rules, that's Seven. So those are just a few of the people that populate this oddball filled town.
I will say that in all of the books that I've ever read, and I've read a lot of books, that Seven is just like one of my favorite supporting characters that I've ever encountered. I don't know what it is about her, but I absolutely I remember emailing you I love her, and Thank you. It's just hearing you talk about it and listening to it, it just fills me with such joy, and you're exuding joy talking about it. And I think that that's just what the essence of this book is. So folks, if you need joy in your life, which I think we all do, Panic in the Panhandle is definitely something that can fill that for you. And we've got Farmhouse Reader DHB saying congratulations on the release. Midge is here saying lucky raccoons. And that that's a premise for a great character, and that the no rules is the best writing advice. And Liz is also popping up with I'm with you on the made up town. I don't think I could write a real I would have a really hard time writing a real town, because I like to
that would be hard.
I like to have too much fun making stuff up. So
I think Jim, if I can interject just for a second, I think JC has done such a wonderful job with his secondary characters. Every one of them just sparkles. And I love Seven. I love the junk dealer. And Nick is a class act. She really is. And I really didn't see their relationship so much as on again, off again, as they just kind of go their own separate way, and every so often they connect, but you do feel like how much she cares about him and how much he cares about her. And that really comes through. And I love, because, I'm a romance writer. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But your characters are just so well drawn, and Elmo I just would love to spend a day with him. He's just a peach, and just so, I don't know, he kind of makes you think about Bogey and the old movies. I can't remember the names of the movies that he made, but when he was a detective, a private detective, he's not. Elmo's not a private detective, but he's got that vibe. And we just started watching Bad Monkey on Apple TV.
Yes.
And I said to my husband, this is Elmo. This is the Elmo vibe. And so now he's like, okay, now I want to read the book. So I got the book on my Kindle, of course. And so I said, get your Kindle out and read it. So it is just a fun book. And I've gotten to read the second one because so
Yes.
they're
Well,
both
and Nan, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I also am going to make my own little plug, toot my own horn here, that Sarah also happened to mention to me that she just got such a kick out of Bad Monkey and that it reminded her
Yes.
of Panic in the Panhandle also. So yes, thank you both for that. But I do have to say, and I think this is a perfect time to bring this up, that for those of you who may not be real familiar with the nitty gritty of the book writing process. We talk about process, when we can here, but from when I first started writing Elmo to when it came out last Thursday, it went through a lot of revisions, a lot of drafts. I had a lot of help. Sarah read an early version of it, and then Nan actually read a version of it in her professional capacity as a copy editor. Yeah. Because when I was lucky enough to have be offered a contract for the Elmo's books with Thule Publishing Group, I talked to Nan because she's an author there and said, Nan, tell me about the publisher. Tell me about these folks. And she said, they're great. You'll be happy. You'll love it. And I said, okay, fine. And so then when we got to the point that my first round of editing was done by a lovely woman from Australia named Kelly Hunter. And do what now?
I said Kelly's the best. Sorry.
Yes, And then when Kelly was finished with the initial developmental edits, and that's kind of the big picture things, kind of looking at motivations for a character, why is this person doing what they are, that kind of thing. Does the story work? That kind of bit. Those big picture things. I asked Kelly when we were finished, I said, well, Nan's a copy editor for you all. I want Nan, if possible, to copy edit my books because Nan has read my writing in the past. We're friends. So we know each other. And so it worked out that they did. So Nan, what I would love to hear from you is kind of your take on if you could spend some time telling us about what your role is as a copy editor, kind of in general, and then more in detail in terms of with regard to Elmo and Company specifically.
Well, generally, I'm a copy editor, and I come in after you've done your big picture revisions, and I'm looking for inconsistencies. If Elmo's eyes were green in the beginning of the book and brown halfway through, I'm going to point that out to you. Grammar, mechanics, that kind of thing, punctuation, timeline problems. If it's Tuesday and 5 hours later in the afternoon, it's Wednesday, then we've got a problem. Or if, you say, well, 2 days ago, well, but it was really only an hour ago, things like that. Also anachronisms, if something couldn't have happened in that time period, which wasn't a problem for Elmo because he's contemporary, but historicals, you have to keep your eye on that kind of thing. And I make suggestions, as you know. I pulled your file up here, and I noticed one of the first things I said to you was, do you want to make the name of the hotel where he found the body 2 words instead of one? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you did or not, but I thought it. Did you? Oh, good. I'm so glad. I thought it felt like it would go smoother. Mm-hmm. And then there's a couple of places where you spell someone's name differently 2 different times, and so I would say, let's pick one. It's that kind of thing. I don't ever change anything. That's not my job. Now I might make suggestions like changing the name of the hotel from the Seabreeze 1 word to the Seabreeze 2 words, or that kind of thing. Or if a sentence is awkward or hard to understand, if I have to read it 2 or 3 times, I might say, hey, this is really hard. I'm having a hard time following this. What would you think about this? And give us a suggestion. But all that happens on the side in the comments. I don't change things inside the manuscript, except for punctuation, spelling, and that kind of thing. But I don't reword. I don't recast sentences. And I think the most important thing, and I pulled up your style sheet for the series too, and I noticed that in my comments to the proofreader, I have that the author sometimes writes in fragments, leave those alone. It's his voice. And you do that. I noticed you did that with your books that I read before I ever had anything to do with your copy editing. That is just part of how you write. And you don't mess with that. The copy editor doesn't mess with that. Hopefully the development editor won't mess with that, and the proofreader certainly should not, because that's just who you are. And anyone who reads this book will get a huge kick out of that voice that is JC. And they'll find it as they read the whole series. That's who JC is. He writes fragments sometimes, not all the time, but now and then, and you just leave it alone. And I think that is the most important thing, whether I'm copy editing you or anyone else, is respecting the author voice and recognizing the author voice. And the kind of fun thing about being able to do all the Elmo books, which I hope I get to do the third one, is that I'll get to know all your characters, and I'll get to know the secondary characters, and I know your voice and your writing style and how you do things, and so it makes for a real comfortable copy editing relationship with you. And you know that if I've made a suggestion, it's because I'm working to help you make the book the best it can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, that style sheet is gold, because I don't know how many times working on book 3, I've gone back to it,
And it's got all the words that have been misspelled. And I don't know about you, but I have, in my own writing, I have words, and I know you do too, Sarah, that you just misspell every time, or you have to go back and check. And I always have to ask Liz, is it lie or lay? So, and I'm a copy editor, but things just don't stick, And so all that stuff's on your sheet, and, how you address numbers, how you, all the grammar kinds of things, which all comes from the Thule style sheet, which I'm going to say I wrote. At their request, they wanted one, so I put one together for them. And the Chicago Manual Style, which just came out with a brand new edition, 18, and it's got some changes in it. Like, this is a weird change, and it has nothing to do with anything except it freaked me out. They don't want you to put a comma in front of a closing to anymore. Isn't that weird? They took that. They're like, don't do that anymore. It's not necessary. Like,
ooh,
I love my commas.
I'm all about commas.
Yeah. I know. I have a friend over here who's all about commas too. So, but anyway, that is my job. I'm like the mechanic under the hood, and I'm also the classic middleman. There's development, there's me, there's proofreading, and proofreading catches things I don't, which I'm so grateful for, but hopefully they don't catch too much.
I think that was a fabulous explanation, because I am freely going to admit that sometimes I get copy editing mixed up with proofreading, and now I'm not going to get that mixed up at all, because I now understand perfectly what it is. And we've got
just along for the checking to make sure we didn't miss anything.
Yeah. And we've got a viewer, Midge, saying, whatever would we do without copy editors like Nan? Thank you for what you do. So,
thanks, Midge.
And also to point out, Mizan agrees that that Panic in the Panhandle is a joy-filled book and loves the supporting characters. I like such a stellar supporting cast. And I'm looking at the time, JC, because we also have a giveaway opportunity that we're doing today. And I want to make sure we get that in. We didn't even discuss what the magic word was, but go ahead and tell folks.
Magic word will make it easy. Panic.
Panic.
Right
Perfect.
There, it's on the screen for the spelling. Hint, hint.
So, folks, if you would like to enter for a chance to win a signed copy,
signed paperback copy, U.S. only, I'm afraid, but yes.
Type in the word panic into the chat, and we will pull our winner at the end of the show. We have THB making a comment about the Oxford comma being yuck. So we've actually got somebody who doesn't like the Oxford comma.
Who is this person? No. Oxford commas are, I will die on that hill.
Yeah, I'm an Oxford person also. But to each his own. We're all here, it's all good.
To each his own, for sure.
There are publishers who don't use it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know if you guys have engaged in a threads or Twitter debate of late. But the Oxford comma always seems to come up as a topic on those sites.
Yes.
DHB is admitting that they just never use them correctly. So it might be, that might be why.
Hey, DHB, if it works for you, or, I guess if it doesn't work for you, that's great,
And the main thing, no matter whether you use it or not, or in anything you do, is consistency.
Yeah.
If JC decides he wants that comma before the two, we will leave it in every book he ever writes because it's his book. And, as long as it's not something really grossly awful, consistency is the main thing, that all the books are the same across the board, and that within the books, they're the same. So,
JC, can you tell us, so we've talked about Elmo, we've talked about the supporting characters, we've talked about the town. There are some wild adventures that Elmo gets up to that don't even involve animals, that at least in my neck of the woods, that I don't see every day. Could you possibly tease for us, maybe without giving away too many spoilers, what is like one of the most fun or wild adventures that Elmo has in his first mystery outing?
Well, there was the time that he may or may not have broken into a condominium in search of evidence that led to a rather dicey moment where he ended up on the wrong side of a big gun. But I don't, that we won't talk more about that. There was also the time where one of the fun things about Elmo is he kind of gets off track and starts telling stories about what he's done in his day job, including the one time when he got a call to remove an animal and he showed up and somehow a fully grown wild boar had walked into somebody's garage. And the homeowner had asked Elmo, please remove this wild boar, which if you know much about wild boars, I know very little, but I know enough, they can kind of be mean and scary and are aggressive creatures. So for a guy who spends most of his time moving things like raccoons and squirrels and birds and a few snakes, having to deal with a fully grown wild boar, that was an adventure in and of itself.
That I don't, the amount of wild boars that I've seen on TV and just like the pain that they can inflict, I got to hand it to Elmo. Like, he's got a lot of courage to be able to go up against that.
Well, that's another thing that's fun for me, because living here in central Indiana, we, things like wild boars, pelicans, gators, we don't have things like that. So those are, that's fun to think about. Okay, well, how do those things, react? What's it like living around those? So again, it's some of that living vicariously.
And I think we've also forgotten to mention a very important character, because Elmo has a feline companion, does he not?
Elmo does. Again, borrowing a little from Sesame Street, Elmo lives with Oscar, a gray cat. So for the first time, Oscar is totally my cat, Maria.
I knew that. I knew that
yes,
when I read it.
Yes, absolutely. Oscar is a gray rescue that just showed up one time at Elmo's doorstep. And at some point when it gets time, I'm going to write a story how those two met. So you're just going to have to stay tuned for that. I don't know when I'll get to it, but that's on my hopefully to-do list.
I'm hooked. I need to
know. I do also need to say real quick, though, that one of the fun things about Oscar is great. He and Elmo are great buds. But while Oscar likes and is happy to live with Elmo, Oscar loves the police chief in town. Whenever Chief Eikenberry shows up, Oscar is putty in Susan's hands. So
that's too funny. Mitch would like to know if Maria signed a release form to be in your novel.
She did not, but she is getting paid in extra kitty treats this week for her endorsement and her support. So, I'd like to think, hopefully there's a little quid pro quo going on there.
There you go.
Fabulous. Oh my goodness. Time flies when we're having fun, you guys. I can't believe how quickly this has gone by. I'm trying to think, JC, just like any parting words, final thoughts, final pitches, what's I guess next for Elmo, and how long is he planning on sticking around?
Yeah, so couple things. Saturday, October 19th, for those of you who may be in the central-ish Indiana area, Nan and I are going to be with some other fabulous authors at White Horse Winery and Bistro, including our friend Liz, who is off camera right now, but hanging out with Nan. It's from 6 to 8. It's in Kokomo, Indiana, White Horse Winery and Bistro. It's going to be wine, books to movies trivia, and we're going to be selling our books there too. So that's going to be a blast. Also on Saturday, November 9th, I'm going to be at the Greenwood location, just south of Indianapolis, Greenwood location of Half Price Books, signing copies of Panic in the Panhandle. So that's what's going on there. And then Elmo and company return in the third week of January. I think it's January 25th, something like that, with Murder Under the Marquee.
I think we have our books coming out, our books coming out really soon, because my fourth book in River's Edge series that I'm working on comes out in January. I want to say it's like January 23rd or 4th or something like that. It's in that same week.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, together, JC.
Yeah, and so I'm working on Elmo book 3 now. It's due to Kelly at the end of this year, and if things go well, I have a contract for 3 books after that. So hopefully, Elmo and company are going to be around for a while.
Lots of Elmo to look forward to, January is going to be here before we know it. So it's like we're even have we'll be able to reunite with him sooner rather than later. And we've got Farmhouse Reader saying that they've just ordered your copy of Panic in the Panhandle from Amazon.
Oh, thank you.
So that's fabulous. Much. Thanks for the support, Farmhouse Reader. Mizan and Midge are celebrating more Elmo to come. We do have our giveaway winner to announce. Without further ado, our winner for today is Regina. Regina, congratulations. Right. Regina, if you can please email me at giveaways@itsbookishtime.com. I will forward your mailing address on to JC, and we will get that signed copy in the mail for you. Congratulations. Yes. You're in for a treat. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
It's just, again, such a fun book, and I am so thrilled that it's out in the world, JC. I'm so thrilled that we get to talk about it finally here on the show. And Nan, thank you for being here to celebrate,
Thanks
support,
for letting me participate.
Oh yeah, and for clarifying for me what copy editing really is, because it's such an important part of the process, and you make our books better. So thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
And JC, any final words?
Thank you both. You two both have been great friends for years, and for all of you out there, thank you all for your support. It's writing can be a lonely business, and it's nice to get together and celebrate with good friends to enjoy the good times. I couldn't do it without the two of you. Couldn't do it without, folks like Liz. Couldn't do it without folks like you, Mizan, and everybody, DHB out there cheering us on. Go read a book. There we go.
Go read a book. That's a great way. It's a good way to start off the month too. And Regina is saying that her October could not have gotten off to a better start. So
excellent.
You're already brightening lives. Thank you everybody for being here this afternoon. It was fabulous to celebrate with you all and to be here being bookish. We will be back with another episode later this week on Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a Bookish Moment. We're going to be joined by Jane Botkin. And Jane is a former beauty queen, and she's sharing her memoir about being on the beauty circuit. So it's going to be really, very interesting to just hear her stories and all of the, I'm sure, wild things that happen behind the scenes. So I hope that you'll be able to join us. I think, JC, correct me if I'm wrong, is this our first memoir focused episode? It might be.
This is going to be our first piece of nonfiction. Yes.
So we've had folks on before who have written nonfiction and memoirs in the past, but this will be the first time that we get to focus on it. So it'll be a really cool interview experience for us. So we've got Liz saying, thanks, JC. Love being friends with you. Midge saying, thank you. This was so much fun. I can't wait to read the book. Thank you guys. Again, we really appreciate your support. We appreciate you being here live with us as we celebrate. And if you're watching us after the fact, we hope that you will put any comments or questions that you have in on the video, and we will make sure to get to them. But until we all chat next time, stay bookish, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.